Martin Luther King Jr. is one of the most iconic figures in American history, a leader whose vision of equality and nonviolent resistance reshaped the nation and inspired movements worldwide. Born into the segregation of the Jim Crow South, King rose to become a beacon of hope for millions, leading the civil rights movement with unparalleled passion and conviction. His advocacy for justice, equality, and peace culminated in monumental achievements such as the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. This documentary explores King's life, his profound impact on American society, and the enduring legacy of his dream. Early life, foundations of a leader. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on the 15th of January, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia, to Martin Luther King Sr., a Baptist minister, and Alberta Williams King, a schoolteacher. Raised in a household steeped in faith and education, young Martin grew up with a strong sense of moral responsibility and social awareness. However, he also experienced the harsh realities of racial segregation firsthand, a fact that deeply influenced his worldview. King excelled academically, skipping grades and entering Morehouse College at just 15 years old. Under the mentorship of the college president, Dr. Benjamin Mays, King began to see the potential for religion to serve as a force for social change. After graduating in 1948, he attended Crozer Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania, where he was introduced to the philosophy of nonviolence championed by Mahatma Gandhi. This philosophy would become the cornerstone of his activism. The Montgomery bus boycott, a movement, begins. In 1955, King was thrust into the national spotlight when he became the leader of the Montgomery bus boycott. The boycott was sparked by Rosa Parks' arrest for refusing to give up her seat to a white passenger, a violation of Montgomery's segregation laws. At just 26 years old, King was chosen to lead the Montgomery Improvement Association, the organization spearheading the boycott. For over a year, the African American community in Montgomery refused to use the city's buses, opting instead to carpool or walk long distances. Despite threats, arrests, and violence, King remained steadfast in his commitment to nonviolence. The boycott ended in 1956, when the Supreme Court ruled that bus segregation was unconstitutional. This victory marked the beginning of King's rise as the face of the civil rights movement, nonviolence, and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. In 1957, King co-founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC, an organization dedicated to advancing civil rights through nonviolent means. As its president, King traveled across the country, delivering speeches, organizing protests, and mobilizing communities. His leadership emphasized the moral and spiritual dimensions of the struggle, urging Americans to confront injustice with love and compassion. King's adherence to nonviolence was not without its challenges. Critics, including some within the African American community, questioned the effectiveness of peaceful resistance in the face of brutal violence. However, King remained resolute, believing that nonviolence was both a moral imperative and a practical strategy for winning public support. The Birmingham Campaign, confronting injustice. One of the defining moments of King's career came in 1963 during the Birmingham Campaign. Birmingham, Alabama was one of the most segregated cities in the United States, a stronghold of white supremacy. King and the SCLC organized a series of nonviolent protests, including sit-ins, marches, and boycotts, to challenge segregation. The campaign faced fierce resistance. Protesters, including children, were met with police dogs, fire hoses, and mass arrests. King himself was jailed during the campaign, where he penned his famous Letter from Birmingham Jail. In this eloquent and powerful document, King defended the necessity of direct action and criticized the complacency of white moderates who counseled patience. The images of brutality in Birmingham shocked the nation, galvanizing support for the civil rights movement. The campaign's success demonstrated the power of nonviolent resistance to expose injustice and demand change. The March on Washington, a dream for America. On the 28th of August, 1963, King delivered one of the most iconic speeches in history during the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Standing before a crowd of over 250,000 people at the Lincoln Memorial, King shared his vision of a nation where individuals would not be judged by the color of their skin but by the content of their character. King's "I Have a Dream" speech captured the essence of the civil rights movement, blending the ideals of the American Constitution with the biblical vision of justice and equality. The march was a monumental success, highlighting the urgent need for civil rights legislation and solidifying King's status as a moral leader. The Civil Rights Act and the Selma March. The momentum generated by the March on Washington led to the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which outlawed segregation in public places and banned employment discrimination. However, barriers to voting for African Americans in the South persisted, prompting King and the SCLC to focus on voting rights. In 1965, King organized the Selma to Montgomery marches to demand an end to voter suppression. The first march, known as Bloody Sunday, saw peaceful protesters brutally attacked by law enforcement on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. The horrifying images of violence outraged the nation and spurred President Lyndon B. Johnson to act. The Voting Rights Act of 1965, signed into law later that year, was a landmark achievement that guaranteed voting rights for all Americans, regardless of race. King's leadership was instrumental in securing this victory, demonstrating the transformative power of collective action. Beyond civil rights, the Poor People's Campaign. In the later years of his life, King expanded his focus beyond civil rights to address broader issues of economic inequality, militarism, and poverty. He launched the Poor People's Campaign in 1968, aiming to unite people across racial and class lines to demand economic justice. King's criticism of the Vietnam War and his calls for a more equitable distribution of wealth drew backlash from many quarters, including former allies. Despite this, King remained committed to his vision of a just society, where all people could live with dignity, assassination, and legacy. On the 4th of April, 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee, where he had been supporting striking sanitation workers. His death sent shockwaves across the world, but it also reinforced the urgency of the causes he championed. King's legacy endures in the laws he helped to shape, the lives he touched, and the movements he inspired. His birthday is now celebrated as a federal holiday in the United States, a testament to his profound impact on the nation. Conclusion: Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream of a just and equal America continues to resonate more than 5 decades after his death. His unwavering commitment to nonviolence and justice transformed the fabric of American society, challenging the nation to live up to its ideals. King's life serves as a reminder that progress requires courage, sacrifice, and the belief that love and understanding can overcome even the deepest divisions. By remembering his legacy, we honor a man whose dream continues to inspire the ongoing struggle for equality and freedom.